If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims. Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Marjory Wildcraft. I love your last name. Isn't
Thank
it
you.
perfect for you?
It is, yeah.
It's like your destiny is hidden in your name in plain sight. Marjory Wildcraft is the founder of the Grow Network, which is a community of people focused on modern self-sufficient living. She has been featured by National Geographic as an expert in off-grid living. She hosted the Mother Earth News Online Homesteading Summit, and she is known for having inspired hundreds of thousands of backyard gardens. Marjory was the focus of an article that won Reuters' Food Sustainability Media Award, and she recently authored The Grow System, the essential guide to modern self-sufficient living, from growing food to making medicine. She is best known for her DVD series, Grow Your Own Groceries. What a great name.
Yeah.
Which has had over 500,000 copies in use by homesteaders, foodies, food preppers, universities, and missionary organizations around the world. Welcome, Marjory.
Yep. I'm all about growing food and making medicine and living a great life. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. And you just look amazing. Like your hair is so shiny and your face is glowing. It seems like this healthy living has done you well.
It does. Excuse me. I have people ask me all the time, what face creams are you using or whatever? And I'm like, I don't use any face creams. And they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I keep hydrated. Well, let's see if we can get the camera to do it. You've got one going there. It's nice.
Yeah.
And I eat really clean food, and I get exercise and sunshine and, wholesome living, really, honestly.
That's amazing.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Do you know the TV show Homestead Rescue?
No, I don't. That sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, they could probably hire you on that show. My husband worked on that show for years, probably about 3 years. And he recently took another job. But I feel like what you're doing is so in alignment with this TV show. And they kind of take people that have maybe had a tragedy, like a volcano eruption in Hawaii or whatever it might be, and help them be self-sufficient and live off the land.
Wow. I would love to get your husband to connect me up. I would love to do that
Oh,
show.
yeah.
That would be so fun. Yeah.
I'm going to definitely connect you because they would really benefit from you and your expertise. That's awesome. So, do you feel like it's possible for anyone to grow their own food regardless of the amount of land that they live on?
Absolutely. I work with people. The majority of people have like a suburban backyard, but we also deal with people who are apartment and condo dwellers. And then, of course, there are the rural folks and honestly, having a lot of land can actually be kind of a problem because then you tend to want to do things too big. And if you start too big, you're going to have a lot of problems. You're not going to be able to keep up with it. So actually having a small space is a little bit to your advantage. I work with everything. I've taught this to little kids at school, all the way to elders who, have back problems, don't have the mobility, don't have the strength anymore. And you can absolutely be growing your own food throughout all those ranges. And I've specifically always worked at designing systems with that in mind. One example is, by the way, I'm not just about gardens. People think, oh, it's just gardening. No, I'm like chickens, rabbits, anything that's edible, honestly. uh,
Mm.
but
Yeah, you're not pro vegan or vegetarian. You think whatever fits for people.
exactly, yeah. And the Grow Network, which is the organization I founded, we're non-dietary, we're non-political, we're not religious affiliate. We're very, very, very neutral organization. All we do is focused on the solution of growing food and making medicine. But from my years of looking at what is the fastest and easiest way to get a lot of calories very quickly, I know it's a little upsetting. We do have a lot of people, and the vegan movement has a lot of really big heart and reasons behind it. But animal products, honestly, are the easiest food sources to grow. But to go back to, say, for example, the gardening style I really recommend, which is simplest, easiest, fastest way for somebody to get started, is to take 2 cinder blocks and stack them up and make a raised bed. And the advantage to that is that you can sit on the cinder blocks and reach in. And that way you don't have to be squatting up or down. So it's very, very accessible to people who, don't have that mobility or that leg strength or whatever anymore. People that are older or out of shape. So,
Mhm.
yeah, always work with that in mind, because that's a significant amount of our population, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you know what I find interesting is that the older people that I know that do gardening, they look amazing. I mean, they're in good shape. They're flexible. Maybe because they're squatting down, or I mean, why do you think that is? Do you think gardening can get you in shape as well?
For on several levels.
Hmm.
First of all is the physical level of just getting outside, fresh air, movement. You know, a lot of for health, you don't really need exercise. You need movement. And getting out in the garden or working with the chickens or whatever is movement. And getting up, I get up from the computer every hour or so to go check on this or that or the other. It's movement, right? So gentle
Mm.
movement, absolutely. There's also the nutritional levels. um, you know, Eating what you grow, the cleanliness of it. You don't have to worry about, is there anything sprayed on this? You don't have any of the anti-nutrients. And then growing in your own fertile soils, you get way more nutrition than you will from anything that you can buy anywhere. Even the best farmers markets, you can grow food that's way better quality and tastes fantastic. There's also mental.
Why is that? Why is that? Because a
It
lot of people think that like organic, if they buy organic, oh, they have a farm, it must be more nutritious.
Actually, Stanford Research did a big study on that a while ago. And
Oh,
actually, although organic farmers, you do have cleaner food, it is not necessarily more nutritious. And
oh,
then,
okay.
yeah, I know this is a big myth about, I'm eating organic, it's going to be more nutritious. It's not, in general, it's not. And, of course, the really small local farmer that you know real well, yes, absolutely. But the vast majority of the commercial organic that's out there now, no. And the reason why is the nutrition that's in that vegetable or in that fruit, it comes from the minerals that are in the soil and how the microbiology and the life in the soil. And, big, large scale farming, even if it's organic, can't tend the soil the way you can as a backyard producer. Um, the other benefits of it, though, are, as I was starting to go into, is emotional.
Oh,
I don't, we had the whole COVID experience. I was not at all disturbed when the grocery stores had lines that went around the block, or you couldn't get in, or the shelves were empty. I mean, yeah, I still buy some things from the grocery store, but for me, it just was like a minor inconvenience. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to have to worry about feeding myself or my kids, right? I know that I can do that. There's just a deep sense of security that comes from that. Like the adrenal glands are no longer stressed. You're not stressing the system. Mentally, there are reams of studies showing, and this is mostly done on school children, but it's definitely applicable to adults, that people who eat higher quality food score higher on intelligence tests. Um,
wow. That's amazing. Okay, so why?
because you've got it all, your body has all the nutrients it needs. There's life. It's not having to worry about detoxing or cleansing. So you have more energy available for thinking clearly. You're less stressed, so you're much calmer. So you're able to assess a situation and not react. Um, there's also a spiritual component to it that a lot of people
Mm.
don't realize.
Hmm.
But when you're growing your own food, you are working directly with the forces of creation with your hands. And I'm going to tell you that magic happens, right? Because you are
Mm.
working directly with the creation of physical reality. And really, it's incredible what begins to happen in the stories that myself and many other experienced growers can tell you of just magic. So really, on every level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, growing your own food addresses it. I will also mention that almost every centenarian ever interviewed grew or had access to homegrown food for almost all of their life.
Wow. That's an
Yeah.
amazing correlation.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if you've heard of Dave Asprey. He's a
I have
big
heard of him.
yeah, big longevity guy. He was the keynote speaker on a big homegrown food summit I recently hosted, and
Hmm.
a lot of people were like, "Well, you know, the dude from Bulletproof Coffee, you know, longevity, like he's into nootropics and cryogenics and all this like weird wacko, you know, life extension stuff. Why would he be at a homegrown food summit?" And Dave was like, "Yes, I have a 14-acre homestead, and I consider the base of all longevity practices as homegrown food. All the other stuff is stuff that I talk about and we sell and da 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 da. But I grow my own, you know, I have my own homegrown food supply because that is the base of any longevity practice. So, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. I know I was listening to someone talk about centenarians and, find out, okay, well, is it because they live off the Mediterranean diet? So they've kind of like looked at different diets, and it's probably everything that you said. It's just that it's natural, homegrown, or local, maybe to their environment or their community.
And they're involved in it. You know, I often
Mm.
say that the process of growing food is more health beneficial than actually eating the product. So, um,
Mm. That's amazing. I want to go back to a comment that you said about growing your own food in regards to meat. And you said, oh, I might, maybe some vegans might be upset of us saying it,
sorry about
but I
that.
still think well, I mean, we have all audience that listens to this. And I think it's interesting. I want to bring it up.
Mhm.
So when you talk about that, do you mean things like chickens and goats, or like hunting your food? Do you distinguish between that?
Yeah, well, I can give you, for example, I developed a really simple three-part system that where you could grow half of your own food in a backyard size space, so basically the size of 3 parking spots
Hmm.
in less than an hour a day. And it involves a garden with like 100 square feet, so 250 square foot beds. And that produces, you know, depending on how many growing seasons you have, but somewhere between 30 to 60,000 calories in a year, which is, you know, it's a decent amount of food, but you're not gonna, yeah, and you need it because you need the diversity and the colors and the nutrition. But that's not going to be enough to do anything significant. I recommend a flock of 6 chickens, laying hens specifically. Don't get roosters; you don't need them. Um,
Oh, you don't. And why is
no,
that?
the hens will lay just fine without a rooster, and
Oh.
you're going to probably cause problems in your neighborhood, and you don't want to do that with a rooster.
Oh, okay.
But six laying hens will produce about 1,500 eggs in a year. And, you know, a medium sized egg is about 64 calories. So 1,500 calories, 1,500 eggs is about 95,000 calories in a year. Now that's starting to get pretty substantial. And what that translates into from you and me on a practical basis is 3 egg omelets for breakfast every morning of the year. So you have breakfast covered, and then 33 dozen eggs to give away or trade or gifts or for friends and family or potlucks. I go to a lot of potlucks, and deviled eggs, they're gone. Right? Everybody loves deviled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an animal product. And then the other one, which, it starts to get a little edgy for some folks, so don't do this first, but a home rabbitry, again, with 1 buck and 3 breeding does. Again, you can fit that into the size of a parking spot, and that will produce about 74 rabbits a year. And that's about 230,000 calories. And it's the equivalent, a rabbit is very equivalent to a chicken. So that's like having a chicken and a half every week, right? Which is enough protein for a family of 4. That's why, you're trusting, 230,000 calories with a small rabbitry versus 6 laying hens with 94,000 calories versus a garden bed with 30 to 60,000 calories. I mean, and they all take, actually the animals take a little less time than the garden does. So when you just crunch the numbers and look at what it's really going to take to operate this thing, I've been a vegan, I've been a vegetarian, I've done all kinds of stuff. And I was a raw vegan when I started this journey, and I was living in Central Texas. It's a very, very, very harsh climate. And the reality of what it took to grow a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet was like, oh my gosh, this is so difficult. This is why so many cultures have included meat or animal products as a part of their diets, is because it's an easier food source.
Right, easier to get the calories and more accessible. That's so interesting. And then what do you think about like cows and goats and having the milk from that?
Yeah, I love that. Cows are going to require more land. But they're extremely useful if you do have some acreage, some pasture. Goats are also really incredible animals for that same reason. But again, you're probably going to need some land. They will be happier. I definitely, some people raise goats in backyard situations, but the goats would be happier with a little more land. So,
yeah, to just be cognizant of their quality of life.
Yeah. Oh, but so I have these basic 3, right, with the gardens, the chickens, and the rabbits, and you can produce half of the food you need in a backyard size. And then, once you got some real basics in place, those are the simplest to set up. They're the easiest to set up for the average modern American who doesn't know anything. It's the most accessible. It's the quickest, to get some big wins in, right? And then after that, the sky's the limit. I mean, like mushrooms and bees for honey, and maybe goats or sheep for milk, or then there's all kinds of medicines to grow, and making medicines, and canning and preserving, and there's a lot of really wonderful, there's all kinds of food sources that you can produce, and of all of the different ways that you can produce food, and even wildcrafting, harvesting and foraging. Really, those 3, the gardens, the chickens, and the rabbits, are the simplest and easiest and quickest for somebody who has very little experience and may not be in the best shape. So start with that, get some big wins under your belt, start producing something. And then, like that's the fun of life, is like, oh my God, I want to grow this wacko crazy variety of tomato nobody's ever grown before. It just gets way fun after that,
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Florida, and
Okay.
I am not a like a hippie type person. No commune or anything like that. Just suburban backyard in Florida. And my first degree is in electrical engineering.
Okay.
So not really any food production in there. No agricultural skills or heritage. And I had always wanted to live overseas. And I ended up becoming an engineering manager for Motorola. I was based in Hong Kong, loving it, having a wonderful time.
Oh, very cool.
And my
I would
family had
never have imagined that. I'm sure
I know,
people
right?
say that.
A decade in Asia,
Like
right?
loving Hong Kong and everything.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was so much fun. It was in the 90s. And while I was there, somebody said, hey, Marjorie, you should, I had grown up, we were pretty poor when I grew up in Florida, and always interested in money. And somebody said, Marjorie, there's this guy named Robert teaching this class on money. You want to take it? And I said, yeah, well, who is he? We don't know. So I said, well, whatever, I'll go. And this guy inspired me so much that I ended up quitting engineering and starting a real estate investment business in Austin, Texas. And the business was so successful. Robert came to me and said, would you be a testimonial on these infomercials I'm making? And that's how I became on national television for quite a few years, promoting Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh my gosh, that's
I know, right?
amazing. I
So
love
there's no
that
food growing
connection.
in here. No food growing. I mean, I was eating
Yeah.
extremely high quality. I was buying it, very conscious of that as I was starting to
Yeah.
have a family. And then one day I was volunteering. Like I love to volunteer and get involved in my community. I was volunteering on this project. It just seemed like just seemed so innocent and sweet. Right? I had no idea my whole life was going to change. We were trying to get locally grown organic food into the local elementary school.
Mhm.
And that whole project was an utter and complete failure
Mm.
because there were not enough local organic farmers to provide even part of the vegetables to one small rural elementary
Oh
school.
my God, not even one school.
Yeah, and
That,
we're outside of Austin, Texas, which is kind of like a progressive,
uh-huh.
foodie area.
Right. But
And
is it because your kids were in elementary school? Is that why you were trying to do it?
no, actually I was homeschooling, but I was just doing community work,
Oh, okay.
volunteering. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So like I said, it was just kind of this innocent project that just seemed like a really good idea. And then but when that thing fell apart, I'll never forget. It happened one night. I mean, we were sitting around, we're like, who's going to provide this? And there's like, we've got the pen and paper out and there's no names on it. And I couldn't stop shaking. My body just shook for hours because there's only 4 days worth of food in the grocery stores. And it looks like this huge abundance, but I mean, you've seen how fast the shelves can go empty. And
Yeah.
and it all comes with a just-in-time trucking system. And whether we want to admit it or not, in the back of your mind, when you're a city dweller, you're thinking, well, if something really bad happens, there's food out in the countryside. And I had just found out there is no food out in the countryside.
Wow.
And we have completely destroyed the small family farm network. And there's no resiliency in the system. And I just couldn't stop shaking. I had nightmares.
Wow.
And I just said, whatever I've done in my life, it's no longer important. I've got to figure out how to grow food, and I've got to teach people how to grow food, because there is someday going to be a crisis where that just-in-time trucking doesn't come in or something happens. And it was bad. I kind of got freaked out. I lost relationships and friendships. Like one of my one of my sisters-in-law was like, Marjory, this United States of America, and we are never going to see empty shelves on our grocery stores. We are never going to have a problem with supply chains here. It might happen in them other countries. And I'm like, wow, I think we've already now seen that's, there is the potential for it, and it's already happened to some extent, right? So fortunately, things are kind of coming back now, but there are some huge vulnerabilities. And so I bore the brunt of people thinking I was a lunatic, and I said, but I know what I know. And
Mm.
I'm really grateful we've had all these years for me to build out, to figure, to do the research and to learn and to figure out how the best way to teach and what is the most efficient, the whole engineering background and the whole financial background, really all those skills and ability to focus helped me to dial into what is the most efficient way to grow food, what's the fastest way to grow food. And then I did it to make sure, and I've been growing my own food for ever since. And I have to tell you though, at the end of it, I was so grateful, because it's been the best thing I've ever done in my life. I just like, it's just the best thing. Growing your own food is incredible. So I'm really, really grateful.
That's amazing. And so, how many kids do you have?
I have two. My son is 23 and my daughter's 21 now. And
Hmm.
yep, they grew up working in the garden, tending the chickens. We used to raise a flock of meat birds every year. It's like a 3-month project, and get them as baby chicks. They'll arrive in the mail. And post office call me up, Marjorie, get these things out of here. I'm like, okay, I'll be right down. and you raise them up, and then the whole family over a couple of weekends we'd process them, and we'd have chicken in the freezer, our own homegrown chicken, and of course we had rabbit and vegetables and fruits and beef, and we just did the whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
did you homeschool your kids? You said you homeschooled them their whole life?
My daughter, mostly her whole thing. My son and I, we were like,
I can
so
understand that. I
yeah,
have a son and daughter also.
yeah. So about the fourth grade, he started going to the public school, and I really wish it could have been different, but just the configuration we had then, that was the best thing for all of us. Um, um, you know, and they're growing up, and they're great kids, and they're now really fine adults. And they've got, of course, everybody has their own challenges in the world, but I'm really happy and proud that they have some real fundamental skills.
Some life
And
skills.
yeah, and the my husband and I, our former husband, we definitely shared the same values, and we said we lived in the barn for a couple of years, and then we said, let's build a house with the kids, and so
Mm-hmm.
they know how to use a power drill, and they know about T-squares, and and we literally built the house as they were growing up, and it's a wonderful lifestyle. I just love those basically 2 decades we spent together. Hard work, real hard work, but really great food and great community and a lot of fun. So it was a good period.
That's amazing. So you had land, you had a lot of land when your
We
kids were growing
did.
up.
Oh
Okay.
gosh, we did. We went out and we didn't know nothing, right? Because I'm still like I'm managing this real estate investment. I'm used to signing $100,000 checks, occasionally $1 million checks, and negotiating with lawyers and bankers, and we're like, we're going to go buy this. We're freaking out, and I'm going to sell off the whole real estate business, and we fell in love with this piece of property, which was a really big mistake. We loved it, but it was just sand. There was nothing hardly growing on it,
Oh
and
no.
almost no water. It's extremely, extremely harsh. And Texas has some really crazy climate, just crazy harsh climate. And but we didn't know. That was where our hearts said we wanted to be, so we went there. And it actually ended up also being really perfect. Peter Bain of the Permaculture Activist magazine said, Marjory, you are learning how to grow food and producing a lot of food under some of the toughest conditions
Yes.
possible.
That's so
And
you can help others,
just
maybe.
so I could, exactly. And I'm like, well, dang.
Thanks, God. Thanks,
Thank
universe.
you,
Yeah.
God. Dang. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm getting
Having
back
that.
at you next lifetime.
Right. Oh, I just had that question about homeschooling because I have a 7-year-old daughter and I'm
Mhm.
homeschooling her this year. And my son is 10 and he does not want to homeschool. So
Yeah.
he's in 5th grade. So
Yeah. My son, it just didn't work. And my daughter, it was really easy. And we got her into, she could respond, and you give her things to do and check marks when it's complete. I also utilized a lot of different homeschooling groups that, I would teach some, they would teach some, and we all shared. So it wasn't like wasn't just me all the time, So
that's great.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, so let's go back to the grow system. Do
Mhm.
you feel like it's possible, or do you feel like there's barriers that might hold people back from starting?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really what I've been trying to confront for the past, 15 or 20 years that I've been doing this. Most people, I didn't want to grow. The only reason I started growing food because I was scared shitless, basically, like really, like, oh my God, so, yeah. I think a lot of people have had a big wake up call in the last few years, though. They've seen
Yeah,
those empty shelves, and right now people are going, oh my God, a dozen organic eggs used to be $3 a dozen. It's now $6 or $8 a dozen now.
hmm.
And, or people are seeing the prices going up. And honestly, the numbers that the government is putting out are really works of fiction, honestly, compared to what we really know is happening.
Oh, you think that they're too low?
Oh, absolutely. They are absolutely too low. So, and it's happening, people are going, whoa. Now, some people, socioeconomic brackets, it's not a big deal if their grocery bill doubles, but for a lot of other people, it's a hardship. So there's that of like, and then just starting anything new, right? If I said, hey, do you want to learn powered paragliding? And you'd be like, huh? Like, uh,
Right.
you know, why? Powered paragliding is not going to feed you or do anything substantial, but starting a new thing, it's daunting. And honestly, you're going to confront failure, right? Because if you don't water, nature will, she's plenty bountiful and abundant. It's unbelievable how much you can produce. But if you don't engage and do it, then she'll say, no, okay, well, this is going to die, So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, that's one of the reasons I've really picked things that are easy and accessible and that kind of naturally fit in with what most people can do in their, like an hour a day is something that you can fit into your lifestyle. By the way, I am one way to try and get people more excited about this. I did a whole series of podcasts with business leaders and entrepreneurs and very wealthy people. Like one was an executive of a healthcare company managing 2,000 employees. Another was a startup entrepreneur in some sort of digital whatever with a budget of, like 25 million. I mean, it's really accomplished people and they grow their own food. Now, clearly,
Mhm.
they make more than enough money. They could buy
They
whatever they
could
want.
buy it. Yeah.
Right.
So there
Yeah.
has to be something there. Like,
Yeah. And I'm like, why? I do this podcast with them, why? And how long? And most of them on average were out in the yard for 45 minutes a day. And they said one thing, these are extremely productive people, extremely successful people.
mhm.
And they want to be productive no matter what, even when they have downtime. So working in their gardens or working with their chickens, it's downtime, right? Your cell
Mm.
phone and dirt do not mix. So that, you don't take the electronics out there. Um, you're out in nature. It's extremely soothing. Every single one of them said they do it for stress relief. Um, and it just really enhances uh, their whole life by getting to have that break, and yet they're still producing something. So they get amazing tomatoes, or they're getting incredible. Like this
Mm.
one guy was really into all these different colored eggs. He could give somebody a dozen eggs that were like this whole rainbow, and
Oh, that's so
they're
cool.
they're having fun with it, but they're also an interesting thing also that really surprised me of all of them. A lot of them mentioned, and these are people that are in control of a lot, right? And they said they loved how kind of out of control the whole thing is. Like
Mm.
nature is doing this and they're just making all the conditions right as
Mhm.
possible, but it really ultimately is nature that is doing things. So they have to really be subordinate to that.
Yeah.
And they really like that aspect of it, probably because they're in so control in so many other
Ah.
aspects of their life. It's a good counterpose. So
Yeah, the yin and yang in their
yeah.
life. And that letting go and just, okay, I did my best to try and create the conditions for success. Now it's up to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, do you feel like a paradigm shift needs to happen with food sustainability for people to wake up like that it's time. It's not just like a nice to have. It's like, no, we need to do this.
We've needed to do this for a long time.
Hmm.
Like the CDC, gosh, this was even a decade ago, was saying they fully expect that all kids, 1/3 of all kids born after 2000 were going to become diabetics. Like that's not natural. That's not
No.
normal. That's got to do with a food supply that has no nutrition in it, and kids eating too much sugar. I mean, it's this lifestyle thing. Our level of cancer and heart disease just skyrocketed. Like I think those are like the number one and two causes of death, and it's totally a lifestyle thing.
Mm.
Also, commercial agriculture is the most destructive force on the planet. And we have huge dead zones like in the Gulf of Mexico and all around the border of of the coastlines from all the agricultural toxins and chemicals that have been dumped out there from runoff. So it's a hugely, hugely, hugely destructive system to feed people. And the tag one of the taglines for the Grow Network is homegrown food on every table, and it's kind of almost a tongue-in-cheek joke, because one way or another there's going to be homegrown food on every table, because at some point in time you're not going to be able to eat unless you're growing your own
Unless
food.
you're growing it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And your
That's
health,
amazing.
yeah, or you won't be alive, because it's I'll borrow from Sally Fallon, who is the spend a lot of time looking at the correlation between health and nutrition and traditional diets. And she's like, there's no way these people are going to live healthy lives if they're not eating good quality food. It's a fundamental, which we've ignored with the convenience of grocery stores and things that are available to us. But yeah, so one way or another, you will be, if you're alive, you'll be eating homegrown food. And it is, I definitely hate to see abrupt change, because that's very hard. But we are amidst a huge change on this planet. And we are going to be changing and shifting to more sustainable ways of producing food, because the other systems are collapsing. They are collapsing right now. So centralized food grown by machines on vast mega farms is not a model that is sustainable.
Interesting. Okay. And who's the friend that you have in the background that's cawing?
Oh, you hear the sounds?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My housemate, we've got a set of quail, and so she's living
Oh,
here in the house.
quail.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're working with quail to use that as there they go. That's a little quail rooster. And we're doing that for people who live in apartments or condominiums.
Wonderful. I thought it was a parrot.
No, yeah, no, and they produce, quail eggs are delicious, and you don't need a lot of space, and they're actually normally fairly most of the hens have this nice little melodious little sound they make, a little chirping sound, and you get a lot of fertility for your garden or for compost. And then of course you get eggs, and then occasionally meat. So is it going to be everything? But no. But is it a great thing for somebody who's living in an apartment or condominium? Yeah, absolutely.
That is fascinating. So I know we were talking about this before, but do you feel like there is a food shortage now?
Yes, I think there is, and I think it's going to get worse. And it's not just me. The president of the Rockefeller Foundation spends a lot of time looking at the whole global food supply. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm not sure if it's Raj Singh. Anyway, he has said that it's a couple of months ago. He said that we have about 6 months, and this is literally his words, that all hell will break loose on this planet. So it puts us around October, November, because the war in Ukraine. We got
that was a few months ago when he said that. That's 6 months. Okay.
Yeah. There's the problems with the war in Ukraine and the wheat. There's wheat farm. That's the breadbasket for Europe, and those farmers are now trying to stay alive. Right? They're not farming. Here in the United States, the cost of the diesel and the cost of the fertilizers and the cost of the Roundup has gone up so much. A lot of farmers are not planting. They're just saying, look, this is ridiculous. There's also a very severe drought in the Western U.S., which is a big producer for wheat and potatoes, and of course, California. But around the globe, we're having a lot of really bizarre weather incidents. Some countries are just shutting down and saying we're not going to export because we know we're going to have to feed our people, and we aren't going to let the food go.
Wow.
So here in the U.S., we're going to be better off because we are a net producer. And we are, still the wealthiest country, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But this is going to be felt by everybody to some extent.
Mm, yeah, amazing. And also, what about the transportation and the truck drivers? Is that still an issue with the supply chain?
That still is, yeah. And
Mhm.
then the cost of diesel, which has gone up pretty significantly. Um, and I don't totally understand it, but they're saying that there's going to be some kind of crisis with diesel coming in the next few months, and that's our entire delivery system. So, that's definitely an issue. Um, we've got a lot of problems, and it's almost like a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here, and it doesn't seem like that much, but it's all compounding, and we are about to face a big storm. I'm not a big fan of gloom or doom, but I am very pragmatic.
Hmm.
And it really is time. We also have inflation and hyperinflation, right? They are not slowing down on the printing of dollars. Um, Inflation comes because they printed trillions of dollars. It's like
Yeah.
really simple, right? It's really simple economics, and that has not yet fully played out, and that will cause more and more prices to continue to increase, which creates this never-ending spiral. We've got a lot of things coming at us. So my first advice is absolutely you right now go out and buy some backup, buy some food. Go if you love like I love coconut milk, right?
Hmm.
So I'll buy, instead of buying my can of coconut milk, I'll buy a case or two cases, right? Right now the can costs $5 a can. It cost $4 a can 2 months ago. So by buying it in the case, I'm saving, or I'm preserving my money. And it's just a good thing to have food on hand. And then the other, of course, is to growing your own food is like printing your own money.
Yeah. That's amazing. So, what do you think's going to happen to grocery stores? Are they going to start to go out of business or consolidate, streamline? Like, what do you think the ultimate effect would be?
Well, we are starting to see some of them shutting down.
Okay.
I believe Walmart has started shutting down some um, stores in locations, and this is in the U.S.
Okay.
And it's partly due to some supply issues, but it's also due to high amounts of theft, and they can't mitigate.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, because there are people who are at that level where that's what's becoming the option. Um, traditionally, what governments do when inflation starts to get out of control is price and wage controls. And before you say, "Oh, that'll never happen here," it happened. I believe it was 1974 with the Nixon administration. For a while there, we had price and wage controls. So it absolutely is in the playbook. And I think that we will see that. And when you see that, then things are going to get even more scarce, because that just totally shuts down all kinds of normal market functioning. So yes, we could definitely be looking at scenarios where there's less and less available at the grocery stores, or the grocery stores actually do shut down.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and another thing that I find interesting is that some places are not finding enough employees, people to work to sustain the stores as well, which I find it interesting.
yeah, yeah. You're right. There was for a while there with the stimulus money and the uh, unemployment checks people were getting. Nobody wanted to work, and I was like, I totally relate to that. But I think a lot of us have gotten used to empty shelves now too, or lack of.
Mm-hmm. It's
And in
not
fact,
shocking anymore.
it's
Hmm.
not. I had a girlfriend, and I said, "Look, things are not back to normal." And she says,
That's
"Yeah,
right.
they are. Everything's fine." I said, "All right, come with me." So we're in
Everything's
Austin.
fine.
Yeah, we were in Austin, Texas, at a conference, and I said, "Come with me." We walked 3 blocks to Fourth and Congress, there to where there's a Walgreens, and we walked into the Walgreens. I hadn't even been in there before. I said, "I get any store. Let's just go in." And I'm like, "Look," and sure enough, at least 10% of the shelves had had either there would be one product and it would be up at the front and there'd be nothing behind it, or there were just flat out nothing was available. She was kind of funny. She's like, "Oh, my favorite mascara is not here." I'm like, "You should be worrying about more than your mascara." Like, look, for a while there, I was doing a lot of traveling and promotion and speaking. I have this book that came out. I'm going to have to do some shameless promotion of my book. But when you're an author, you do all that, and I just made it kind of a game to go into different stores and look around, and it is happening everywhere. There are. But a lot of people were kind of used to it now. Like, that's not there, or that's an empty shelf, and it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. That never used to be like that,
No, that's true. That's true. Well, tell me about the homesteading summit. Do you feel like that's helpful for people?
We used to do those all the time. I haven't been doing that a huge amount of work to produce that. It's just a huge amount of work.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So one thing that we've been doing now that we found more effective is at the growyourowngroceries.com website. I have a free webinar where I teach people that very simple system of how to grow half of your own food in your backyard in less than an hour a day. And I go into more in detail on what that looks like, how to set it up, how much calories are produced, what kind of skills you're going to need, what it's going to look like in the beginning. And you'll be able to come away from that regardless of where you live or what season you're in. You'll come away with a plan that you can get started immediately on implementing this and how to get going. And that's at growyourowngroceries.com. And that's what we found now is the best thing, is because people want something that's direct, that's actionable, that's simple.
Yeah, right away.
Do it. And and this is targeted people who know nothing. Maybe they're older, they're out of shape, but they know they want to start producing a lot of calories, a lot of quality nutrition very quickly. How can I get started right now? And that's who this is for.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's talk about your book, The Grow System. What inspired you to write it, and how has it been received?
Oh my gosh, I gotta have a copy of it somewhere. Hang on one second. It's bad to be an author and not have, here it is. Bad to be an author and not have your book handy, right? Here's the Grow System.
Okay.
Oops. I'm gonna keep it brutal.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a fun thing. So I've been in this space forever, right? And as an author, getting somebody to publish your book is, if you get a publisher, it's like, oh my God, that's great. Well, I had 18 publishers bid on this book.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
I'm like,
that's insane.
Wow. And, I've only self-published. I've never had a publisher.
At least 5 of them said this book will be a New York Times bestseller. So, and of course, Penguin Random House won the bidding, right? They're the largest English language publisher on the planet. So, so they have the most resources and the most money to give an author for an advance. And it's been great working with them. And the reason to write the book, so the book has the 3-part system in there, explained out in detail with like plans for the chicken coop and a lot of stories, like really inspiring stories. And then it also, because home medicine is such a big part of this, it goes into like how to treat 12 common ailments with simple home medicines that you can make yourself from herbs that probably are growing around you. And, we, over the years, we found people really want a book, right? So, we're looking at times where the grid could go down pretty regularly, right? It's, I think that we will always have the internet to some extent, but there could definitely be times when it's not available. And people want books. And, so we went ahead and did that. And before you say no, Texas, what was it, 2 years ago, had that ice storm, and my IT director who lives in North Texas, we couldn't even call him for a week.
Wow.
Everything was completely out. He was figuring out how to stay warm and keep his chickens warm.
Oh, they're all cuddled up together.
They were all cuddled up together. Yeah. So,
Well, I want to talk about the medicine too, because I think that's really important. The kind of natural medicine that can be
Mhm.
made. What kind of ailments? I know everybody can buy your book. If you could just give us a highlight.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, one of the chapters in the book is, and this is kind of like maybe when you get to be an advanced after using medicine, but I'm a barefooter and was doing something stupid, and I got bitten by a copperhead snake out in the garden, and we didn't go to the hospital. We treated the whole thing at home. We used prickly pear to poultice it, and a lot of people are shocked by that, but if you think about it, think about like the Roman and Greek times. These guys are beating each other with swords and gashing
Yeah.
each other, and and yeah, some of them did die from their wounds, but a lot of them got infected wounds and they did not die. So
Mm.
there are techniques that have been used for thousands of years to how to treat infections without, long before pharmaceuticals ever became available, how to treat these kind of things. And so those medicines are still extremely effective, and they're available to you today. So one of the chapters in the book talks about just what we did specifically for that. But a lot of other things are really simple, like using elderberries to make a cough syrup. Elderberries and honey, and
Mm.
how to maybe just use maybe a mint tea, something as simple as a mint tea to calm your stomach down. Or
Mm.
we'd go on car trips, and my daughter always got upset tummies, and we'd make her a mint tea with maybe just a little bit of honey or something. It always helped soothe her. Or again, family vacations. We were a sporty family, so we were always way overdoing it. So sore muscles and getting, so ginger and turmeric, great teas, or add it to foods, and that really, really helps to reduce inflammation and help, get your body feeling a lot better, especially when you've overexerted yourself physically. So a lot of really simple stuff like that probably your grandmother knew, really.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love ginger and mint. And is it easy to grow ginger?
It actually is, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I've had it. When I bought it from the grocery store and then left it on the counter for too long, it started sprouting. It's definitely a tropical plant, so if you're going to grow it in the northern climates, you're going to need to bring it in during the winter
Oh,
to
put it in a
protect it.
pot or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Well, how can someone get started if they have no experience gardening? So that would be me.
Yeah. Well,
But
yeah,
we did have our first garden this year. Um,
congratulations. Yeah.
yeah, so we did get started, but just, for those listening that maybe haven't started yet.
Yeah, I'm finding that more and more when I get on with different hosts, and they used to be like, oh, well, that'd be nice for those people. Now they're like, yeah, we just started. I'm like, yeah, good.
Okay.
I see
Yeah.
it's turning. Yeah.
It's
I would
turning.
go to growyourowngroceries.com, and that's where that webinar is. It's a free, just sign up, and it's a free webinar. And again, I've really condensed like 20 years of really looking at this problem of how does somebody who doesn't know anything, maybe they're older, out of shape, how do they get started? Maybe it's a grid down situation. What can you do? And so, yeah, it's a webinar, and there's no charge for it. I will give you a heads up. I'll make you an offer for the book, and then some training to really help you get that all completely dialed in. We also have a really active group of homesteaders with a lot of experience that you'll get hooked into that network that can answer all your questions and help you out. So, but the main way to get started is to go to growyourowngroceries.com.
That's amazing. So, what is Zen success to you?
What is
Zen,
Zen
Zen success.
Zen success? Wow. For me, I would say, yeah, well, just what I've done with my life of learning how to provide for myself without a governmental, industrial, military complex, you know, being able to
Mm.
work directly with creation and have that deep sense of security um, and fulfillment from working directly with the earth to provide for my most basic needs of food and medicine and health. Your health that's your most important asset. It really is, way more important than money, right?
I agree. And you've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
guys, that's amazing. I love your story about Robert Kiyosaki too. That's so fun. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you, learning about your kids and hearing about your book, The Growth System. I'll put your website, how to do the webinar and connect with you in the show notes. So
Yeah. Well,
much
Krista, thank
Zen
you. Yeah.
success on your
Yeah. Thank
journey.
you so much for having me on. And yeah, reach out. I'm in the forums all the time at the Grow Network. And once you go to the webinar, you'll get that. And we'd love to stay in touch. So just post up some photos of your garden.
Ah, okay. I'll brag a little bit. All
There you
right.
go.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Zen Success is also available on the radio in select markets through amfm247.com. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to zensuccessshow.com to help you on your Zen success journey and join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.